Now, one U.S. federal agency that is playing a crucial role during this crisis and is also drawing heightened scrutiny is the Food and Drug Administration. Joining us now from New York is Peter Pitts. He's the former FDA Associate Commissioner and current co-founder of the Center for Medicine in the Public Interest. Thank you for joining us, Peter. Let me just ask you, a couple of days ago, the FDA, which has been in some quarters criticized for its role in, for example, the development of new tests for COVID-19, actually issued a statement in defense saying they've been providing unprecedented flexibility to labs and manufacturers to develop and offer COVID-19 tests, and our regulations have not hindered or been a roadblock to the rollout of tests during this pandemic. I want to get your reaction to that. Is the FDA playing a positive role in the development of COVID-19 tests?
They most definitely are. They got a little bit of a late start, but I think that they've caught up and gone beyond, and not just in giving swift approvals for new types of testing, but also for giving emergency use exemptions for existing medicines to be used against COVID-19. FDA really is leading the charge within the federal government in terms of coordination, making sure that tests and medications and other treatments get out to doctors and hospitals as quickly as possible. Much red tape has been cut.
Right. Now let's talk about cutting red tape, because there's been a lot of interest in using these malarial drugs, especially hydroxychloroquine, to treat COVID-19, even though there haven't maybe been proper testing yet. What's your view on this? How quickly should the FDA, other agencies, allow these drugs to enter the market?
Well, the FDA obviously wants randomized controlled trials, the gold standard to collect solid scientific data. That takes time. Those studies are underway. But simultaneously, the FDA has also granted, as I mentioned, these emergency use exemptions so that these medicines are now being used off-label right now by doctors with real patients. And that data is being collected to that real-world evidence in collaboration with the randomized controlled trials is really going to give the FDA what it needs to move forward more swiftly. Because even though there are a lot of positive anecdotes out there, that's good. The plural of anecdote isn't data, which is what we're collecting now, while simultaneously making sure these treatments make their ways to patients.
Right. Now, these malaria drugs, we should mention, are for patients who have COVID-19. The real interest is that race to develop a vaccine. Now, how quickly can that be done? And is the FDA also really going to have to try to fast-track as much as possible that process?
Oh, unquestionably. It's an all-hands-on-deck proposition. I think that there'll be an approved vaccine in 10 months to a year. And by vaccine standards, that's incredibly fast. There are a number of companies around the world, including Israel, that are working on vaccines. So there are a number of very positive shots on goal. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. But in addition, there's also the issue of convalescent plasma, where we can use the plasma of people who have already come through the tunnel of COVID, and their plasma can be used not as a vaccine, but as a very potent treatment for people that really need it as quickly as possible.
Very briefly, Peter, is there no concern, though, that some of these fast-track methods, that, for example, the tests, some people say, are not proving effective?
Well, the tests are extremely effective, and they're very accurate. No test is ever 100% accurate. The tests meet FDA standards. They work. They're getting the job done. The question now is getting them out there in enough volume so we can collect enough data quickly enough to really make strategic decisions, as well as individual patient-physician decisions.
All right. Well, hopefully we will see some progress both on all these areas, the tests, these treatment drugs, and most crucially, as you mentioned, developing that vaccine as fast as possible. Peter Pitts, thank you for joining us here on i24 News.